Hello you, it's Pastry Week. Let's make gala pie. As always, we're waiting for the text. We just got it. Now, the text is basically a small instruction as to what they want. Typically, the instructions for this technical bake is like slim, four-liner sort of situation. So that's what I'm expecting. So, are you ready to roll up your sleeves for your next challenge? You've survived back to school week, but now the real challenge begins with Pastry Week. This week, you're making a gala pie. You must make a spectacular rectangle pork pie with a rich hot water crust pastry and an iconic line of egg running through the middle. You've got 3 hours to pull this off. Wow, okay, 3 hours is so intense for this kind of pie because there's so many elements to it. You also have to make a piccalilli like sauce. I think it's a sauce. I don't really know what it is. Yeah, it's a piccalilli jam, like sort of like thing that you condiment that you put alongside it. And there's a lot to it. So I think that's what you're going to do during the bake. Now, the thing is, the instructions for me is so interesting. There's literally 6 steps. And it literally says, make pork filling, make the pastry, add it, line it.
At least I know how to boil eggs.
Just like that, we're going to start off with the eggs. I've boiled mine for 7 minutes. Now, give or take, probably a minute or less, depending on the size of the eggs. Now, the next step really is to prep the mince. Now, I'm going to chop up and dice everything. This is sage. We've got streaky bacon. I've got for smoked streaky bacon, which is going to be a great flavour to the meat pie. Now, give this a good mince, enough to river through the actual pie, but not enough to be obvious. I'm going to add all the seasoning, including a little bit of sugar actually, just to balance the flavour out. Now, I use my hands to massage the meat. You can also use a machine if you have one. You want to basically make sure it's well combined. Now, moving on to the flour. Combine all your dry mix together and then leave it set aside. Now, there is no real technique here other than the fact for this part. Now, I'm going to add the butter in, and then I'm going to basically use my fingers and kind of smush it to combine the flour and the butter together. Almost like when you're making crumble, but this is a little bit drier. Now, the technique here is really the essential part of the foundation of a pastry. I guess without it, it wouldn't be considered pastry, just because this is the one that builds layers of that sort of flaky, crumbly, hot water pastry. Now, you should get a nice dry texture. You shouldn't be able to kind of feel the butter yet. This is going to basically highlight the flavor profile of the pastry, just because the lard has a very specific taste. Now, moving on to the next step is the hot water part of the pastry. We're going to combine hot boiling water, preferably really hot, because the lard takes a long time to melt. Compared to other fats, it's just a bit more resilient against heat. I'm going to add my lard in, and I'm going to put it onto stove for medium heat until it boils and it's nicely well combined. They might split just because of oil and water. Gala pie could be considered a Frankenstein of these two. This is a Scotch egg and this is a pork pie. And that's what exactly it should look like if you put these two together in a Frankenstein Halloween way, which is kind of cool, I think. And also, happy Halloween, guys, is this week. I hope you guys are enjoying it. But this is kind of cool. Now, I am a big fan of Scotch egg. I'm not a big fan of the pork pie. I think the pie pastry bit is my least favourite bit. Honestly, and I'll explain why. It's just so thick. Like, I don't get it. But also this kind of looks like our lunar cake, our moon cake that we have. But it's still disappointing, and it's so flavourless. It's such a typical thing to be so flavourless. Like, add some seasoning, bro. Once the lard and the water is thoroughly boiled and combined together, we're going to combine it with the dry mix. Use a non-stick or a spatula or something like that to basically combine it, because it can be very sticky, but it doesn't form a dough immediately. And be careful, it can be still quite hot. Be mindful that you're having to work very quickly here. The dough itself doesn't come together without some work, and there will be a lot of kneading to make sure that the dough is nice and smooth, a little bit bouncy, but also properly combined. You can see that patches of my dough still has like uncooked flour, and honestly it just takes a lot of kneading and patience here, and you can see that it can gather itself. It's still very malleable without crumbling, and that's the ideal situation. The trick is keep this dough really warm, otherwise it'll crumble, but will also keep your hand and the surface warm as well. Don't know how you're going to do that, but it's not crumbling yet. I don't know why they do that. There's a man on the roof. I'm so easily distracted. It's so funny. I did check the temperature just to give you guys an ideal temperature where the dough is sitting at. It's currently at 40 degrees, which is perfect. I'm going to split the dough into 1/3 and 2/3. 1/3 is being wrapped up for later. I'm going to try and keep this warm so that I can start working on this. And essentially this should be the base. Whatever's the excess we'll use as the topping and the actual bit that we have to pinch in. But the dough is the dough hardens really quickly because of the temperature, so work really quickly. Okay, I prepared the tin already. I put a layer of butter down so it doesn't stick, but I also put some parchment papers in like a line form so that when we pull up the pie, I can lift it up on both sides and support it. You can do one, but I did 2 just in case, because I know what I'm like. I'm going to fail. I don't know how, but I will fail. Now, I'm going to start with this. Right, this is still warm. I'm going to start rolling it out. Okay, with the 2/3 left, we're going to flour the surface and the dough, and we're going to start rolling it out to make the base. Now, there was no suggestions or any implied information as to how thick the base is, so go with intuition. For mine, it was around about 1 centimeter, enough to cover the entire cooking tray. I don't really know how this is classified as pastry. As you can see, I'm moving really frantically, and this is real-time speed. And honestly, you just need to constantly move the dough around as well, just because it does stick. Despite the fact that it's not the most gummy kind of dough, it still has some sort of resilience against the flour as well. And the flour also adds to the dryness, which also leads to crumbling. Now, I'm going to ease this in gently. How did I do it? Ease it in. And just like that, you should be able to take shape. Now I'm going to add a base layer of the minced meat before adding any of the eggs. Now I'm going to just use the hand technique, but you could use a spatula to also ease it in, or a back of a spoon. I love this bit. I don't know why. It's very hands-on. Okay, so we're on step 3 right now, and it says add the filling, including the traditional line of boiled eggs running through the center. What's a traditional line? Because traditional line could be like the eggs facing this way or this way. And there's about 5 eggs. And the tray is not very big. Maybe my eggs are too big for this. So we're going to have to like trial and error this. It's interesting. They say traditional line. I don't know what a traditional line is. A line is a line, no? At this very point, I've never had a gala pie. So putting the eggs in this direction might be wrong. How does one keep it in the middle? Oh, my eggs are a little bit big. My eggs are a little bit big. They look so cool, but I don't know how they stay, so do I. It's not like padding it out like that. I guess it does tighten up. What an interesting experience this is. What an interesting experience. I'm just listening back to my own clips and I can hear myself whispering. Anyway, with the last 1/3, we're going to make the lid of the pie. Same thickness as the foundation, but you want it to basically cover.
Is one crimp a pie? Crimpy. It's giving crimp.
They don't need to know that. We're making pucker pies. I feel like there's a certain rule that you should know how to crimp a pie, but this is what I've been taught and this is what I was raised on, just to use a fork. Anyway, trim the excess and then... Be careful with the paper. Wow, this weighs a ton. We'll be using the excess later to create the decoration, but be careful of your fingers here. Okay, that's what it looks like right now. It's massive. I still don't like this. Now, using the excess, I re-kneaded the dough and rolled it out again. Now, bear in mind, the dough is going to be very stiff and it's starting to crumble and dry up. So try and leave it in a very warm area, Or if you're kneading it, make sure that your hands are and the surface is somewhat warm to keep it constantly malleable. Now you can see on the top of the pie that it is starting to crumble and crack. So I've just added an egg layer. This is going to be the glue for the leaf anyway, but just keep in mind how quickly this dough changes consistency is absolutely crazy, and I can't imagine doing it on the show either. Now I made around about 40 to 50 leaves. It was really interesting because they're asking for pastry leaves or decoration leaves. I don't know what that is, so I thought something that was really simple. I used a paring knife and I created basically nice petal shapes just so that I can stack them as if they were leaves. Now I'm using the egg yolks to be the glue, and then you're going to also do an egg yolk wash to have that nice lovely golden brown top layer, and when it cooks in the oven it should be able to be consistent all the way through. Whether that was the case for my pie, I do not know. No one's judging it other than me, but you will find that once you get into the rhythm adding these leaves, it actually becomes easier. This was so time consuming. It took a good 20 minutes to make this particular part. So in 3 hours is quite crazy. Now the final part is to basically make the whole of the pie. And I just did that with a nice piping tip to create a nice shape. And that should also balance everything out as well. Piccalilli time. Now this is like a jam condiment sauce. I've had it a couple of times. It's very much an old person sauce, no offense. And if you're offended, then you're not old enough. Anyway, typically it contains like cauliflower, courgette, pickle, vinegar, that sort of thing. Really weird concept for me. Anyway, we're gonna make it. But I was just thinking to myself, because I'm gonna make a whole jar of this. That's going to be a real waste of ingredients because there's so much vegetable that's required into piccalilli. So, you know, I thought, why just buy it, you know? This is the cheat for this video. And you will know, if you've been watching long enough, that I will cheat in every video. Don't be surprised that this came up, okay? I might not get another chance to cheat next time, but we're using this as an example of what we're doing. Sweet piccalilli. Get it in a jar. It's about £1 or £2. So much cheaper, and also I can refrigerate this, and I know I haven't wasted so many ingredients just for one condiment and for one video. But if you're going to make the piccalilli from fresh, the ingredients are down below, and the recipe, everything else. Once you're ready, we're going to be putting it into the oven, which is preheated at 180 degrees Celsius. Now this should bake for around about 90 minutes, but do check it around about the 60-minute mark. Some ovens are hotter like mine, which means the cooking time actually is cut down by 5 to 10 minutes. Also, take a look at this. I don't know, it's not phallic or anything, but I don't really know. This reminds me, have a great day, and I hope you are having a great day. I'm ecstatic how this turned out, but we don't know what it looks like inside, so let's not get my hopes up. For the most part, it looks actually so pretty, and like the leaf patterns actually came out really nicely. I did put a foil over it after like 30 minutes so that the pastries don't over brown, but I don't think, maybe that's just my oven. I just removed it from the case, and I just want to show you how proud I am. The pastry browned and like cooked perfectly in the tin. So you actually don't need a special tin for this. If you wanted to, you can, but if you line the tin with like some grease, like butter or something, and then use the parchment paper to help you lift it up later, it comes out perfectly. It is so chunky, my arms are shaking. It's like a proper workout, like bosh. But anyway, let's cut into this. Yo, there's no egg in that. How do I cut this pretty? I can't. My god, look how cute it is. Wait, hold on. Stay. Yay. Okay, ignore this. This is Okay, here's the slice. I'm so freaking excited. That slice is a pretty good slice, you have to admit. That is such a good slice. It's so pretty. Wait, hold on. There you go. That slice is a thick boy slice. Look at how thick that is. That's at least 2 fingers width, I think. It's a thick boy. And there's a hole, like the egg is all the way through. All the way through. Damn, this is a good slice. Woo! Right, let's plate this up properly. Okay, I've eaten some of this already. But it's like quintessential, like it's a proper quintessential English like dish. I can't explain it to you. It just reminds me of ploughman's, like a proper ploughman's lunch or like dinner actually. This is so good. This week is probably the easiest for me. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Just because of how easy everything came together, how I didn't really struggle too much. The only thing I did worry about was the pastry. Gosh, the pastry crumbled right at the end and I thought I was done. I didn't realize how quickly it cooled down but also dried up, which is so weird because it's a hot pastry. It's a hot, hot? Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that accent out. It's meant to be a hot. It's meant to be a hot water pastry. And it was just such a struggle at the end. And I understand why there was so much pressure on the show. Anyway, next week is meringue week, so look forward to that. I'm going to finish this bite off and actually enjoy the whole pie without anyone watching me. But I'm going to say is all the ingredients and all the measurements are down below. So is the recipe link, so please do check it out. It's a fabulous recipe. It's a really easy one, I think, compared to all the ones we've done before, in my opinion. Also, if you have made it, leave it in the comments down below that you've made it. Finally, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. But also, I love knowing whether you guys made this. I know a couple of you have started to make things from the recipes that I'm using. So please let me know. Please let other people know. Thank you for watching. I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm going to show you this. Don't laugh. She's a little bit empty. She's like a phone case. Hello? It's so empty. Look at this. And it's like real hard as well. It's so interesting. So interesting how much of the meat just condenses itself. Weirdly, this one doesn't require the gelatin stock around it. Or maybe it does, just skip the step, I don't know.